Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining this morning. I'll just do a bit of a mic check. Can everyone hear me well? I'm good at projecting anyway, so thank you. My name's Emily Mills. I'm a principal consultant at Pragma Partners. So Pragma, we're a digital consultancy based in Canberra, working primarily with federal government clients. I have a background in communications and I specialise in content, user research and leading teams to deliver cool digital projects. Today we're going to go on a bit of a UX detective mission because sometimes finding real user insights can be a little bit like trying to find a missing person. We can all agree that user research is important, but I guess, let's be real, most of us usually might not have the time or a dedicated team or the budget to do it properly. So what do we do instead? We need to hustle. So I'm going to show you today some really valuable ways to get user insights using free tools and some, albeit maybe scrappy techniques without sort of any expensive research required. So let's jump into things. I'll ask for a show of hands. Who here has been told that we will test later and later never comes? Yep. This could be because you might not have a dedicated team. Your devs are busy, your designers are stretched and no one really owns research. You could have no time. You're moving really fast, you're trying to meet deadlines, launching features, and research kind of keeps getting pushed back. And you could have no budget. So your bosses or your stakeholders or your clients, they might really like the idea of research until they get that invoice. Then they don't like it so much. So the result of these things is that you're forced to kind of make some design and product decisions blind. But don't worry, even though you might lack some formal research, doesn't mean you can't gather really good insights to improve your user experience across your product. So we'll touch briefly on what happens if you skip user research, and spoiler alert, it is not good. Your product becomes a guessing game. I would liken it to trying to build an IKEA furniture piece without the instructions. You get halfway through and you go, oh no, I've put that on backwards, undo it all, do it again, or at the end it just doesn't quite look right or doesn't quite function how it should. You get some user frustration. You might have some users rage quitting if they can't figure out what to do, and they won't politely tell you, they will just leave and they won't want to come back. It can be expensive rework, so fixing things after launch can be harder to do, it can be more expensive, and it can be far more time consuming. And it also gives you business headaches. So bad UX can actually lose customers, it can damage your reputation, and it costs money. So, if you've ever abandoned a checkout process, if you're on a commerce website, that's lost revenue. So it has business impacts as well. And the list goes on. So despite these blockers, there are ways around it. So we'll jump into the good stuff now, the tools that will actually help you find your missing users. And I'm going to go through 3 key tools, but I will shout out some honourable mentions that can help fill in the gaps and give you a fuller picture of what's going on. And they might not be tools that you immediately think of when you think about user research, but they can give you really good insights into how users might be struggling on your website. So the first one is Hemingway Readability Checker. It's hemingwayapp.com. And it's a great way to support user research because you can validate if your copy is confusing to users. So essentially just paste in your content text and it will highlight instances where it might be, heavy use of jargon or hard to read sentences and how to improve it. And this is really great for checking things like forms, help docs, or any copy on your product that needs to be really clear and easy to understand. Second one is Wave Accessibility Checker. This is really good for user research because it can flag contrast issues, things like missing alt text, keyboard nav problems, or things that can impact real users. So this is helpful when you're auditing a live site or a prototype to make sure it's not accidentally excluding people or just providing a poor user experience. The third one is call centre or support data. You might not have a call centre, but your client might, or you might have emails come through to you. And typically users might only call if something is frustrating or broken or unclear. And if you're getting users calling you and saying that your website's fantastic, then good on you. When you see repeated issues come up, you can see that there might be a gap in the UI, a form might not be clear, or there might be confusing workflows. And every support ticket is a clue. Fixing common complaints means you will have fewer frustrated users. So this is really great for finding high impact pain points that need urgent fixes. They need to do something. They care enough to get it done to call you and tell you about it. The final shout out is to you and your Brainiac team. Your colleagues always have good insights. They just might not share them without being asked. So devs know where users get stuck because they're the ones fixing the bugs. Customer support or other team members might hear complaints first because they're the ones that are dealing with the repercussions. And your designers can see these usability issues daily because they test their own work and they're familiar with best practice. Jumping into the tools, first up is the Google Analytics suite. So this includes Google Analytics, Search Console, Tag Manager, and it's been around forever and you probably already have it set up, but are you actually using it to understand your users? The suite is a really great tool for UX because you can see what users are doing in real time. You can see how they land, how they navigate, and most importantly, where they leave. It helps you spot friction points. So if users drop off at the same step every time, then you can see that something might be wrong or not functioning as it's intended. In a user research context, I'd be looking at things like your top exit pages. Why are people leaving? Where are they leaving? Is this where they meant to leave? You can also look at goal conversions. So a user's actually completing the user journey that you've established and you want them to do. And it's also really great for comparing desktop and mobile behaviour. So a user's on mobile having a great experience as they should be having as the same as desktop. So Google Analytics, it's free, it's always running, and it's probably one of the fastest ways to sort of start seeing user behaviour. The next one is Microsoft Clarity. This one's really great for UX research because instead of numbers and graphs like Google Analytics, this one has a bit more of like qualitative data. So you can actually get sessions of recordings of real user sessions and heat maps, and you can see where users are clicking and scrolling and hesitating or abandoning pages. So in action, you could maybe watch 5 to 10 random session recordings, see how users are actually navigating through your website. Where do they hesitate? Where do they struggle? You can look at scroll depth. So are people actually getting to the key content? Are people missing things because it's at the bottom of a page, or is there something distracting that they're just totally scrolling past? And it also tracks rage clicks. So a user's clicking something, expecting it to work, and it doesn't work. You can also see that too. And the cool thing with Clarity as well is that it integrates with Google Analytics. So in the Clarity dashboard, you can pull in all the data. So it's kind of got more of that holistic view of things. So you've got Google Analytics showing like drop-offs or what's happening, and then Clarity is showing you why. The next one is your classic website feedback form, and I would say this is a bit of a personal fave of mine because it gives you real verbatim feedback from real users doing real tasks in real time. So this is a really great tool for user research because users won't always complain out loud or proactively want to submit feedback, but if something is there and that's an easy way for them to do it, they will. So for example, on the left here, we've just got was this page helpful, yes or no? You can set this up so that if they click yes, it's already submitted and that's logged as feedback. And then another window can pop up with a bit more, tell us why. And then that can then be attached to that submission. But you've already caught yes or no, and that's at least something without users having to go and submit more information. This is really good to kind of understand what users actually think without making assumptions. I'd recommend using this to your advantage with like customizable fields, really asking users what you need to know, and using things like conditional logic as well. So if a user says yes, well, why was it helpful? The content was clear, or, the layout was effective, or no, it wasn't helpful. Why? And that can help you drill down on the problem and understand, okay, what is it here? Why is this page not being helpful? How can I fix it in a really, clear way? You can also set up things like email notifications or getting your forms sent to your email as well once they're submitted. So this is a really good way of keeping feedback front of mind and not just, I need to log in the back end and like check my feedback submissions. That's a way to kind of keep it front of mind. So you could even have emails sent to maybe your content team or your design team or something like that. So I'd say as well that feedback forms, they typically work best when they're short, to the point, and really easy to complete. You'll see this other one here. It's got like smiley faces and numbers. So anything that a user can just click, and like a rating scale as well, something like that is really a quick and easy way to give you information, but it's not burdening the user and putting the onus on them. They will not fill out a 10-question survey, particularly if they're not having a good time on your site. Okay, data acquired, now what? You've got some data using your tools, but you essentially are just staring at a pile of numbers, heat maps, and feedback submissions, thinking, what do I do with this? So this is where a lot of teams get stuck because raw data doesn't magically give you insights. You have to make sense of it. So this is where we go next. Identifying patterns. So if one person rage quitting, it doesn't mean that your UI is broken, but if 20% of users drop off at the same point, then you've got a bit of a problem, and that's a pattern. How can you spot a pattern? If drop-offs happen at the same point in a journey, that's a roadblock, so it might be common exit pages that you can see in Google Analytics. If certain features are ignored, so maybe they're hard to find, they're not useful, they might be confusing, so check repeated frustration points in Clarity session recordings. If users keep searching for the same thing, so using search data and search terms, that's probably might be missing or it might be buried in your website. And you can also scan your feedback forms and support tickets for recurring complaints. So if people are saying the same thing, that's a pattern. And I'd say when you're looking at these things and identifying patterns, don't spend your time fixing one random complaint. Focus on the pattern. So, if one user says something, you can kind of just think it's an opinion, but if 50 users are saying it, well then, there's more weight to it. Numbers tell you what is happening, but they don't tell you why. The key is to combining these data types. So you've got your quantitative numbers. This is your analytics, your drop-off rates, your conversion rates, and then your qualitative user feedback. So it might be your complaints, your feedback, session recordings, those types of things. So if you're going to put insights from the tools together, you might say, Google Analytics tells you 30% of users are abandoning a form. The session recording shows you that they're getting stuck on a specific field. And then the feedback submission, was this page helpful, tells you that a user says, I don't know what this field means. It's not clear, I don't understand it. So you've got 3 kind of points and you're getting a more holistic picture of what's happening. You know that your form isn't clear. So applying this in action, it would be, cross-checking what users are doing in Google Analytics and Clarity, and then with what they're saying, so with that feedback and those other mechanisms. So if the data is telling you 2 different stories, you can dig a little bit deeper, but if the numbers and the feedback match up, then you know exactly what to do. Alrighty, so we've got our patterns, but we need to make sure that we're solving the right problems. And it can be helpful to ask yourself these questions to help get to the root of the cause, not just the symptoms. So where is the issue occurring? Is it on a specific page? Is it on a specific device or browser? When is it happening? Does it happen at certain times or after a recent change? Who is it affecting? Is it all users? Is it returning users? Is it people just on mobile? And why is it happening? So are they dropping off? Are they rage clicking, or are they struggling with a specific action? So for example, if mobile users drop off during checkout, that you can check if the button might be hard to tap. Or returning users might ignore a feature. Maybe it's only helpful if you're a new user and it's not helpful if you're a returning user. So I'd say don't just look at the surface, have a look at kind of backtracking the issue, what the cause could be, and fix that as opposed to just treating the symptoms. Now you might have a long list of issues, and let's be honest, you can't fix everything at once, and this is where you come into prioritization mode. So there's 4 kind of priority buckets you could sort them by. You might have different names for these, but this is kind of the general gist. So for example, if a user can't submit a form, that's urgent, right? So if you're needing them to submit a form for checkout or even something to do with compliance, that is a real issue. If a button is slightly confusing but still usable, that could be a lower priority. If users hesitate on a step but you're not too sure why, that might need more info and you might need to do a little bit more digging through the tools or some other instances. So in applying this, goes without saying, fix the urgent issues first, and then look for high impact, low effort wins, and then you can hold off on minor tweaks until the big issues are resolved. Prioritization can save you from wasting time on tiny fixes while these major issues kind of go ignored. And I'd say as well, before making big changes, test small tweaks first. So validate your assumptions and then track your impact. So if users are struggling with a really long form, maybe A/B test a shorter version, Or if people are ignoring a call to action, maybe test a new button color or different wording. If a change doesn't improve things, you can iterate and try again. And UX is never really done, right? It's a cycle of testing and learning and improving. And if your tweak didn't fix the issue, go back and ask yourself, did I solve the real problem or was I solving a symptom? So that just kind of goes back then to the symptom versus the real problem. In addition to the tools mentioned, there are some other guerrilla user research tactics you can try out. I'd suggest take a picture of this because there's some cool ones in here that you might want to try out. And I think one of the cool ones is to watch how users behave, and then you can also like test in the wild. So users might say they like something, or you're showing someone and they go, oh yeah, that's really cool. But then they might struggle to use it. So watch their behavior, not just their words. So you could do a user swap with a teammate. So maybe have someone unfamiliar with the feature, test it out. You could do a session on mobile. So you jump on your mobile, navigate through. Does it work for you? And then give someone the 5-second test. So can they understand the page or feature in 5 seconds of showing them? Does your product speak for itself? Some low-tech usability testing. You can do some A/B testing, as I mentioned, or maybe you could hide a button or a link in staging and see if anyone notices that it was missing. And if not, maybe it wasn't needed after all. Writing a hypothesis as well before testing keeps you from making random changes. So being really targeted in what you're doing. If I change X, then I expect Y to happen. And I'll say as well, AI is your friend and it can help you do the heavy lifting, particularly if you're resource limited. So you could paste your user feedback into AI, like ChatGPT or something, and say, what patterns do you see? You could ask AI to categorize feedback into themes like usability issues, missing features, and you could also let AI suggest your quick and low effort fixes to help sort of speed up decision making. So, obviously AI won't replace actual users or, critical thinking, but it can help you find the biggest pain points faster. Okay, so we've got tools, testing hacks, and data. But none of it really matters if you don't actually take action. So I do have a challenge for you and, might be a bit of homework. Pick one or more of these tasks and do it in the next week or so. So for example, you could check your Google Analytics. Are there any surprises? Are there high drop-off pages or features that are getting ignored? Observe a user or complete a task without hints. So don't explain, just watch them where they get stuck. Could be a team member, a mate, or even your mum. I think that's really good, having someone who's, not techie or design savvy jumping into a product and testing it. That will show you, if it doesn't help your mum, then there's some issues. Skimming site feedback, so a user's complaining about the same thing. And also just planning one small experiment and then tracking it. So you could test a new button label, you could simplify a form or tweak an onboarding step. And then look at your data before you do this and then after to validate it and see if anything has changed. So these small improvements really add up, and one simple fix could help prevent hundreds or even thousands of users getting frustrated and running into issues. So I'd say if you do even one of these things, you're already ahead of the game, and any user research is better than none. That's all from me, but I would really love to open up the floor if anyone had any questions or comments, or I'm also very curious, does anyone have their own scrappy user research hacks that they've tried and want to share with anyone else? Thank you.
Do you have any recommendations for A/B testing software for like copy or website forms?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of, as I mentioned, the Hemingway editor is good for that readability. So identifying, I would say, go with what you have now, and you'd be really surprised as to perhaps what you might think is something easy could be confusing for someone else, because you're obviously the subject matter expert and you know all about it. But I'd kind of liken it to having a copy. It doesn't matter. I guess we talk about reading grade level. And I think the stat is more if the reading grade level is more than grade 7, 83% of Australians will struggle to understand it and read it, right? And that's just not helping people who, you know, might have a disability or a learning impairment. It's for everyone. Like if you want to go and, you know, renew your license online, you don't want to be reading through all this like complex wording and stuff. You want really simple stuff to do, right? So I think having a look at things like Hemingway Editor can really show you like, okay, here's what good is like. And it's almost like a guide to kind of tell you where to fix things and tweak things like that. But in terms of A/B testing with copy as well, I mean, you could, sometimes we do like highlighter testing. So you might give somebody a piece of copy and give them a highlighter and just say, read this and tell me, like, just highlight yourself. What doesn't understand, like what don't you understand, or what's hard to read, things like that. Yeah.
Let's say if you collect a lot of data from feedback, do you have any recommendations on how to find the maximum amount of feedback data? Like let's say you have like thousands.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure there are some. Thank you. If you're getting a large volume of data, how would you, I guess, sort it and help categorize it? I think one of the things, I guess, in doing content audit and things like that, what I typically would do is you could use some like formulas and stuff like that in Excel to kind of categorize, okay, was it helpful? Yes, you can categorize that and you know that that's going to be positive, and then no, and then you could kind of filter it then on, I guess, what the sentiment is. So it could be like positive sentiment, negative sentiment. But yeah, in terms of like actual software, again, I'd probably using something like AI to kind of maybe help take that step for you, like something free that you could use if you needed to. But yeah, I'm sure there's other tools out there, but none, you know, from a tech perspective that I've personally used. But sorry, I don't think that was too helpful.
Miro has a really good categorizing tool.
Miro.
Yeah. You can paste it all in and then it...
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, we have done that before. So yeah, Miro, pasting in the text and can help categorize things for you with their AI features. Thank you. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for the great session. My question is regarding the security of your user data. I mean, sometimes the data can be sensitive, or the data, let's take an example of suppose we are working on a kids website.
Yep.
Or there is a website which contains students' data. So all of these platforms like Mixpanel, or you can say Google Funnel Tag, or any other platform which we are using for tracking. So how can we protect the user security and integrity so that there can be issues?
Yeah.
Users don't want to share their data sometimes, especially with the kids. Right?
Yeah.
So what can we do?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's something, particularly when you get into the realm of like feedback forms and stuff like that, when you have open text fields, users can put sort of anything in there, right? I know one of our clients will purge their submissions after a certain period. So every 14 days they actually purge their feedback form submissions, like after, so it's not in the website anymore, and they store that like securely in their own thing. So that's just like a regular kind of getting rid of that. But I think there's times where, you know, if there is an open text field, if someone wants to put their information in there, they like, you can't really avoid that. I think it's just then how do you have those privacy policies in place and making sure you're kind of aligning with, I guess, best practice, but also any, I guess, legal obligations or standards that you might have for your organisation.
We have that checkbox which says you have been.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
I don't know how many users read those stuff.
Yeah.
Because I never read that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, like you can't control if someone reads something or not, but I think if you do your part in saying like, this is how we treat data, or this is how we store it, or, you know, by doing this, you thereby consent to this, I think if you kind of have those bases covered, then you should be okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't read the T's and C's, and you just kind of, yeah, that's on me. Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to work in an organisation where everybody is online and
Nice.
it's really frustrating. I imagine, and this might be outside the scope of the discussion, but do you have any resources or ideas or ways that I can help them to understand the importance of
100%. Something that I have done with clients who are a little bit the same, like maybe their project team gets it, but they need exec buy-in, right? Yep. Going back to kind of what I mentioned about like business implications. So sometimes what I have done is it's like you can almost have a bit of a table, right? And you can have columns. So you've got user problem, like the impact, and then the business repercussion. And then, like, seriously, like, go hard on what these repercussions are, right? Like, one might be, the button's broken, therefore a user is frustrated, therefore they can't submit a form. What does that mean? Non-compliance, lawsuit, there's an inquiry, everyone gets fired, like, it's shut down, you're in administration. Like, say all this stuff, because it's like these things can happen. Like, it's not just, it annoys a user, like, there's implications. Or, you can't click on your shopping cart, lost revenue, like you're losing money. Other things as well might be, okay, the users are frustrated, then like your call center is just getting spammed like with calls, and that's overwhelming for them to deal with. They don't have the resources. So I would say like, okay, what is the issue? What is the user problem? And then from a business or organization perspective, and like really like, as I say, go worst case scenario, and that will kind of help hammer it home. Yeah.
So let me preface this by saying I'm generally an angry and jaded person.
Nice.
So when I see like in an app, the modal comes up, oh, did you like using our app?
Yep.
Please rate us.
Yep.
What kind of, I consider that a dark pattern. What kind of things should we avoid doing to collect actual good user feedback?
100%. I think particularly on mobile as well can be really annoying when you kind of got a pop-up thing that like comes in, you're like, I don't want to read this. Like, no, thank you. I'm here for the content on the website. So I think some instances in which you could sort of make it a nice sort of seamless experience is being discreet on your page. So for example, like I'll jump back to the feedback form page here. This page helpful? That's just at a banner just above the footer, right? So it's there, it's discreet. If someone wants to provide feedback, they can. The other thing as well is, just keeping it short and to the point, making sure that your UI and your design is kind of like, almost like blends in a little bit. You don't want it to be this red thing sticking out and annoying users, right? So I think keeping it discreet, keeping it simple, and keeping it optional. You don't want to bombard users by saying like, hey, do this. It's more just like, please give us feedback. We're here if you want to. No, all good. I think we just got one more question.
Yeah. Sorry, so on the feedback form, so similar to like product review, I think we found we've been looking at it's mostly tracking negative responses.
Yep.
Not really positive.
Yeah.
So is it good to is it a fair comparison to compare it to like the user data from GA to work out? Is that a fair way to kind of analyze the website overall?
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, you also have to kind of take it with a grain of salt, is that people are more likely to submit feedback if they're unhappy, right? So you're going to have that sway. But I think I would use it as more of a next step, a deep dive. So it's kind of like, this 80% of users found this page unhelpful, and then maybe looking at the stats, okay, the bounce rate is really high, or those types of things. So it's kind of working hand in hand, like not kind of looking at one or the other. So yeah, I think it's nice to have yes submissions, but I think, what you kind of probably want is the issues that you can take action on, right? But yeah, I would say it's not everyone's going to submit yes if they have a good experience with the website. They should just complete their task and be, it's served its purpose. Beautiful. All right, well, that's time for me, I think, guys. Thank you so much for your fantastic questions, and yeah, sing out.